A secret empire in Cuba has been thrust into the global spotlight. For years, it has operated quietly in the shadows of Cuba's economy. From luxury hotels rising over Havana's skyline to ports, banks, supermarkets and fuel supplies. This empire has its reach everywhere, even as ordinary citizens endure blackouts, food shortages and a deepening economic crisis. The US Secretary of State Marco Rubio has publicly accused Cuba's military-controlled business conglomerate Gaesa of controlling the country from behind the scenes and profiting while the Cuban people suffer. In a video message addressed directly to the Cuban people, Rubio described Gaesa as a state within a state, a secretive business empire that he says controls the country's most profitable industries while ordinary Cubans continue to struggle. But what exactly is Gaesa? Let's tell you. Gaesa is short for Grupo de Administración Empresarial, which is a massive military-run business network created in the 1990s under former Defense Minister Raúl Castro. Over the years, it has grown into the most powerful economic entity in Cuba. The conglomerate controls many of the island's five-star hotels, the strategic Mariel Airport, Cuba's top commercial bank, major remittance operations, supermarkets, gas stations, key import, export and commercial services, and several tourism-related businesses. Washington has long accused Gaesa of hoarding national wealth and using profits to benefit Cuba's military elite rather than its own people. Marco Rubio has claimed that the group controls as much as 70% of Cuban economy and holds billions of dollars in assets through Havana. In fact, Havana has strongly rejected these figures. There is no public information about how much of Cuba's economy is controlled by Gaesa, but remember, outside estimates range from 40 to 70%. Washington says that Gaesa has revenues 3 times greater than Cuba's current budget. Last week, Cuba's embassy in the UK posted on X that a Miami Herald report cited a staggering $18 billion figure inflated Gaesa's wealth by 24 times. Washington has already imposed sanctions on multiple Gaesa-linked businesses. This includes restrictions targeting tourism and financial operations connected to the group. The American pressure campaign against Cuba entered a new phase after the U.S. Justice Department issued an indictment against former Cuban President Raúl Castro over the 1996 shoot-down of the 2 planes. The escalation comes, remember, just days after CIA Director John Ratcliffe met with Cuban officials in Havana. Cuba says that it was an attempt to improve dialogue with the United States. In fact, Cuban officials reportedly told the American side that Havana does not represent a threat to U.S. national security. Meanwhile, conditions on the ground in Cuba continue to deteriorate. Severe fuel shortages, exacerbated by U.S. sanctions and import restrictions, have left hospitals struggling to function, schools shut down, and government offices operating at reduced capacity. According to the country's energy minister, Vicente Levy, Cuba has now completely run out of the imported diesel and fuel oil. In fact, the country's power grid is in a critical state, with rolling blackouts lasting up to 22 hours in Havana and sparking growing public protests across the island.